Hello guys, and welcome to a review of one of the most anticipated cars of the year. I've previously done a preview on the Chery Tiggo 8 and it was my most viewed video so far this year, and a lot of you have expressed interest in a proper review, so here it is. This is the top spec executive version, so it's priced at around 550,000 Rand. And really what the Chery Tiggo 8 does, it competes in two categories essentially. One, against your sort of Haval H6, Volkswagen Tiguan's, Mazda CX-5s and so on price, but it does have the two extra seats in the back, which is obviously an advantage. And then secondly, you can see it as an alternative 7-seater family car or SUV to the much more expensive new Kia Sorento and Hyundai Santa Fe. Now the big question is, on paper, this represents excellent value for money. On pictures, it looks really excellent. Is there a catch? Let's find out.
The new Tiggo 8 Pro is a handsome crossover SUV that is about 7 centimeters longer than a Haval H6, but interestingly has a shorter wheelbase and is also narrower than its 5-seat Chinese rival. This executive specification variant rides on striking dual-tone 18-inch wheels, and this particular test car featured a lovely dark metallic purple paint, which contributes to making it look more expensive than it is. By the way, the front end is dominated by what Chery calls its Starry Night grille. The Tiggo 8 Pro's ride height is a good 196mm, but this is by no means an off-roader. The roof rails can support loads of up to 80 kilograms. Inside, the upmarket cabin of this executive spec model features lovely brown leather with a diamond stitched pattern and expensive feeling and looking materials. It also boasts adjustable ambient lighting and a dual zone air conditioning system with, Chery says, pharmaceutical level air purification abilities. There are two USB outlets underneath the center armrest, and hidden below the floating center console you will find a wireless charge pad for your smartphone and even more storage space.
So in the cabin of the Chery Tiggo 8 Pro, and as with its smallest sibling, it's very impressive in here. Lovely materials, leather wrapped steering wheel obviously, lots of soft touch materials everywhere, beautiful brown stitched leather. It's got a nice mixture of sort of classical luxury elements, premium elements, mixed with high tech. To give you kind of a bird's eye view of the cabin, it really is a very nice place to be, a very smart looking place. Beautiful crisp digital display and interesting design as well. So if you change the modes, for example, you can see it goes red into sport, eco, obviously sort of a turquoisey color, and you can toggle between your various information, your tire pressures, your lane keep warning, and your fuel consumption and so on, all on display there. Over here you've got your typical infotainment system layout with sort of app-like buttons. You can have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto connected, and then you would have navigation. It doesn't have built-in navigation. It's really unnecessary these days. Under vehicle settings, a couple of interesting things. If you go under auxiliary drive, then you can adjust the lane departure sensitivity, your door open warning, speed limit distance warning system, your automatic emergency braking at the moment is on, rear collision warning is on, and in some instances you can even adjust the sensitivity of it. You can actually adjust your steering mode, for example, individually from the driving mode, so you can have it in comfort mode but still have sport mode on the throttle, for example. So some really cool touches there. Then going down here to your HVAC controls, this to me is a little bit fiddly. I mean, the gear lever is a little bit in the way, that you adjust your fan speed like that, or move this up and down to change the temperature. But sometimes it's a little bit tricky to get to exactly the temperature that you want, and that's why I think they've put these manual override buttons in there, which is really cool. Gear lever, nicely positioned, nice solid feeling gear lever as well. I think here though they've missed a trick. This part here is just plain clear piano black and it gathers dust really quickly. I think two recesses here with a nice rubber mat would have been far more useful, a useful feature than just sort of black plastic that's going to get scratched. Lots of controls on the steering wheel. Obviously you've got active cruise control as well, and you do have voice control, which I will illustrate somewhere else in this video. Nice Sony sound system, really good sound quality, and a really cool camera system. So you can, for example, toggle between the various points on the car to get different viewpoints. There's a 3D view as well. It's currently on the front camera, it's to the back, so wide rear view. Yeah, some very nice top-end features for not a top-end price, I would say. Right, in the back seat of the Tiggo 8 Pro, and this is going to be used as a family car very often, so the back seat space is probably as important as front seat comfort. Now I'm sitting behind my own seating position, and as it is at the moment, and this seat is adjusted quite far forward, you can slide it way back and you can see there's a lot of legroom on offer here. But the nice thing is you can adjust it to give those in the third row more space. What else? You've got privacy glass in this executive model. You've got your own ventilation outlets here, which is really cool. You can't control the fan speed though, and there's only one USB port. If I have to criticize something, I would say that the car feels a bit narrow. And I think if you look at the specs and the actual numbers, the width of the car, it is narrower than, for example, a Kia Sorento or the like. So I think 3 adults in the back might be a bit of a tight squeeze, not necessarily in terms of legroom, but in terms of shoulder width. Overall though, reclining backrest as well, very nice. Right, so that's seated in the second row of the Chery Tiggo 8 Pro. Really quite comfortable. Let's see how easy it is to get into the back and how much space there is in the back. So just pull this lever and the seat sort of tips forward and moves forward as well, slides forward. And I'm in, but let's see how much space there is. Yeah, not a lot, I would say. I think you would need a passenger here that's a little bit shorter, or somebody who's willing to sacrifice their own legroom a bit to make the third row really usable for adults. If I look over there, there is a lot of space to move forward. So yeah, it might be possible, but also my head is touching the roof. So I'm 1.8 meters, and yeah, it's quite tight in here. I would say for short distances you could squeeze adults in here, but mostly this is going to be for the kids. Nice touch is that you do have your own fan speed control here and a little ventilation outlet right next to you, and some cup holders, and yeah, I think the headroom issue is more significant than expected. Right, in the boot of the Tiggo 8 Pro. Now this car is going to be used as a family car a lot, and I would imagine if you specifically buy a Tiggo 8 Pro that you are going to occasionally use the third row seating, in which case you're not going to have a lot of packing space. But that's not a unique problem to the Tiggo 8 Pro. That's pretty much par for the course for all 7-seat SUVs and crossovers. Chery does claim around 200 liters of space, so you can get a few bags in here. Unfortunately, there's no hidden compartment there for a few items. That's where your tonneau cover is stored. The spare wheel is underneath. It is a space saver. But I think that realistically most families will use this car as a 5-seater most often. And in that instance, you know, the boot is really nicely shaped, very square shaped, and a nice flat floor. So yeah, you can get a pretty decent amount of luggage in there. And I think if you fold the second row forwards, it's actually got a flat floor as well. Let's have a look. Yeah, that's a very nice flat space, so you can get a couple of surfboards in here, maybe through there. Still have 2 occupants on this side, so a very practically packaged 7-seater, I would say. If you watched my preview video on the Tiggo 8, you would have heard me say that I had my doubts about the ability of a 1.6 litre turbo petrol engine to firstly deliver the power that's required to move a big car like this, and secondly to deliver good fuel efficiency. Now, I've been living with the car now for a little bit more than a week, and yeah, there are some surprises. Firstly, let me just run through the numbers for you. This engine delivers 145 kilowatts, which is pretty good for 1.6 litre turbo petrol. It does, however, deliver it quite high at 5,500 RPM. Torque is 290 Newton meters, and that is developed actually over quite a nice wide rev range from 2,000 to 4,400. So, you know, you look at the figures and then you look at the size of the car and then you look at the claims, and Chery is quite bold with their claims. They say this car will do 0 to 100 in about 9 seconds, and you should average, you know, worst case around 10 liters per 100, which I think is a very honest, I think, claim figure. In reality, this car feels perfectly fine. I must say, around town, the calibration of the throttle and the way that the engine is matched with the 7-speed dual clutch, it actually feels quite perky, quite lively actually, off the mark. The only place where you really feel like you could do with extra power is when the vehicle is fully loaded and you're sort of cruising at the national speed limit, and you want to overtake something, let's say on the way to your holiday destination. There you might find you want a little bit of extra grunt. It's also in those circumstances when the car is fully loaded and you're pushing on, that the fuel economy suffers, because without trying, in normal driving, in normal mode, not eco mode, I'm averaging closer to 10, which is not bad, you know, considering what engine is in the car and the size of the car. If you push it though, and the car is loaded, then you can expect that figure to be around 11, maybe a little bit higher even. Overall, I think the engine is perfectly fine for everyday use. It's also quite refined, which is something the Chinese brands have struggled with for a while, but yeah, it's a smooth engine, nicely matched to the gearbox, relaxed. It's got different driving modes, obviously. You've got normal, eco. Now eco, I assume if you're really going to try and drive like a granny, you will improve your fuel economy, but eco mode makes the car's throttle so blunt that it's actually not pleasant to drive. And then there's sport mode, which I think is completely pointless in a vehicle like this. It just sharpens up the throttle a little bit more, but there isn't really more power, so very soon it starts feeling very similar. And anyway, you don't have flappy paddles to sort of get that more engaging drive if you would like. Which brings me to the driving experience itself, the dynamic ability of the car. And there again, a couple of surprises for me, because given the nature of the vehicle, I expected it to be quite a supple, comfortable, comfort biased vehicle. But it's actually quite firmly sprung, and I think maybe perhaps a little bit too firmly sprung. So when you've got a road surface that's not quite even, it can feel quite jittery. I think it'll be better than a load. In fact, I know it is better with load, but nevertheless I think it could be a little bit more supple. That stiffness does, however, mean that the Chery feels quite confident in the corners. Body control is good, and the steering has nice precision and nice feel to it as well. It's a very nice, easy car to drive. I just wish the ride was a little bit more supple. And that's really it. I think as with the Tiggo 4, there's maybe a little bit more wind noise in here than you would find in, let's say, a Kia Sorento or Hyundai Santa Fe. And again, mostly I think it is due to the fitment of this huge sunroof. By the way, look at this. Hello, Chery.
Yes, I'm here.
Open sunroof.
Since you're driving so quickly, I'll only open it by half.
So caring, eh? Since I'm driving so quickly. Driving 102. Hey, Chery. Sorry, you have to say hello, Chery.
What's up?
Close sunroof.
Okay, I'll close the sunroof.
Hello, Chery.
Yes, I'm here.
Close sunblind.
Alright, closing.
I must say that's pretty cool. I honestly, I think if you're on the braai and you tell your friends that you've bought a new Chery, they're probably not going to be very impressed. But you put them in this cabin with all these features and you do that trick and you tell them the car costs 800,000 Rand when in fact it costs 550, they'll believe you, because it comes across as a car of that kind of price range. You know, at 550,000 Rand there are a lot of good cars on the market. Not many of them have 7 seats though. But I would say that this car isn't as much of a 7-seater as I expected. It's a little bit lacking in the headroom. In fact, it's lacking in headroom quite a lot. And you do need to compromise in second row legroom quite a lot to have somebody like me sit in the third row. So if you are really in need of a genuine 7-seater, then this might be a little bit too small. What it does offer you though, again, something like a Haval H6 or, you know, one of the many other mid-size crossovers, the new Hyundai Tucson and Kia Sportage and the likes, is a well-priced, very well-spec'd, nicely built, good-looking overall package, which does give you that kind of emergency use third row, let's call it, when needed. And it's a nice extra, and it might be a deal clincher for some people. Should you consider a Chery Tiggo 8? I can't see why not. Got a good warranty, it's well built, it drives nicely, it presents nicely, very cool features, and yeah, the dealer footprint is expanding rapidly, so you know, the servicing concern is diminishing as days go by. So it's a serious brand, and it's a brand that's serious about South Africa, I put it that way. So yeah, absolutely consider a Chery Tiggo 8. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope those of you who are seriously looking at buying a Chery Tiggo 8 found this informative. If you did, please consider giving it a like and maybe subscribing. Appreciate it. Thanks.